Hello and welcome back to the Yoga Life channel. Thanks for tuning in again. Today I want to have a chat to you about building rapport. If you want to build really good relationships with people that are mutually supportive, that are mutually encouraging, and that are benefiting each of you, it's an incredibly powerful tool to be able to build a deep rapport with someone, basically encouraging a situation where it feels like you've known each other for ages and you can truly count on each other and trust and support each other. So how can you do this? Excellent communication skills, that's the way to go. You want to come to a situation where people feel like they've known you forever. There's a principle called likeness creates liking. So the more people perceive that you have a lot in common and that you are just like them, the more they will focus on everything that you have in common, and the less they are going to notice the things that are different that might potentially break rapport. How exactly can you do this? There's several ways to go about this. Interestingly enough, we probably all think that words are the most important tool, like talking about things we have in common. But the truth is there have been studies done and research conducted that show that the biggest tool that you have in your toolbox is actually your body language. About 55% of all communication that happens is on that subtle language. On that subtle level of body language. Then we have 38% that are communicated through our tonality, so the way we project our voice and we handle people just through our verbal communication. And only about 7% of our communication happens actually through the content of what it is that we are saying. So let's have a look at how to go about building really good, deep rapport. So body language is what we're going to focus on first. Number one is a principle called matching and mirroring. So you want to be able to do things that are just like what the other person is doing. Matching are all things where you're doing the same thing. For example, the person that you're sitting on a table with and having a chat with is sipping out of their cup of tea or out of their glass of Coke or whatever. And just 2 or 3 seconds later, you can do exactly the same. So they take a drink and you also take a drink. That's one really easy way. If they shift their posture, for example, they've been leaning on this arm and then they turn over and they lean on the other arm, in a subtle way, a couple of seconds later, you can also do the same shift and again, match them in what it is that they are doing. You can also match the tone and the timbre of their voice. So if they are really loud and passionate, you can meet them there and also be loud and passionate. If they are, for example, in a bit of an emotional state and they're more silent and more mellow, again, meet them where they are at rather than going exactly the other way, which breaks rapport. The next thing is meet them emotionally. Like, where are they at right now? How do they feel? If you can have that extra level of empathy and tune in with where they are at, this also creates a really powerful experience of matching them. On the other hand side, you have the option to mirror what it is that they are doing. Here you want to be careful because sometimes it can feel a little bit like monkey see, monkey do, and people might get slightly offended if they're noticing what you are doing. So, for example, if there is a person that sits opposite me and they are tilting their head slightly to the right, if I then also tilt my head to the right, there's this mismatch where they go one way and I go the other way. So if they are tilting this way, I will also tilt my head this way. So it's like a mirror image. Same thing, if they are, for example, resting their chin on their hand, I can do exactly the same thing. And we are both going to be mirror images on each other and of each other. And again, I wouldn't use the same arm. If they use left, I wouldn't use left. I would use my right if we are facing each other. It's kind of a similar experience like when you are at the gym and the instructor is facing the class. They are lifting their right hand to indicate everybody else lift their hand, but the class doesn't lift their right. They lift their left, again, as a mirror image. So that's actually really funny when you are being the teacher in front of a class and you're doing that. You have to constantly remind yourself to do whatever is counterintuitive so that people can do the intuitive thing. Anyway, so that's matching and mirroring, being able to meet people where they're at and create this similarity in your actions through body language. The next thing you want to be able to do is pace people before you start leading them. If you're in a conversation, it's often easy to take over, just talk about all your stuff. If you want to build really good quality rapport, you get into a state of listening to them and observing them first, and then meet them where they are at the same place. Once you've done that for a little while, the rapport has been established, then you can go into leading as well, and people will then very likely follow along with what it is that you are suggesting and that you are doing. Now, what else can you do? The next good tool that you have are your words, obviously. And what are topics that can help you build rapport? Everything that you might potentially have in common, from friends you have or people that you know. You might have people that you've both met over the years, and that always creates a very powerful similarity. Oh, that old guy, yes, man, haven't seen him in ages. How is he going? We've all had those conversations where it's really enjoyable actually catching up and finding out what the things are that we have in common. Places you have traveled, places you have lived. I've just recently had the experience that I met someone I was working with, and we discovered that we'd both, at different stages of our lives, lived in Berlin for a while, which is a beautiful city, and obviously that was a fantastic topic to talk about. And then all the places they have been, the places that I've been, the cafes that we really used to like, the lakes that we like to go swimming in. There's endless opportunities once you have found a place like this. Experiences that you've had, both, for example, in having children, in going to certain universities, doing certain training. I know that for me sometimes it's just a thing being a single mom or having gone through divorce. It's a powerful bonding tool. There's almost a sisterhood around this. So all these little subtle things, find what it is that you have in common with the other person, and then dwell on this and have conversations around this, rather than discussing things like politics, for example, where there's always quite likely going to be a mismatch and difficulties if one person sees the world entirely different than the other person. The important thing is, through all your communication, verbal and non-verbal, you want to emphasize what it is that you have in common and de-emphasize what the differences are. Listen first, rephrase to the person what it is that you have heard. That's really powerful. And make an effort to really bond with that person. However, the important thing is, once you start feeling like you've known each other for a long time, you start to build a really deep level of trust, and make sure that you handle that with integrity. If you don't want to have a closer bond to a person, if you don't want to spend more time and feel like there is some sort of commonality, don't use those tools. There is a responsibility that you have once you are making a person or bringing a person into your closer circle, that you will also treat them with a certain level of respect, with a certain level of integrity. So be mindful and choose wisely how close you want to bring a person to you, if you are or not are willing to then deal with them accordingly. So here you are. This is a couple of really valuable, very simple tools to build rapport and to strengthen the relationships that you have with people. Again, as always, if you have suggestions, if you have ideas, if you have thoughts, outraged, not being in agreement with what I've just said, please feel free to leave a comment in the messages below, and we will enter a little bit of a conversation with you. If you like our content, as always, please subscribe to our channel. Once you've done this, you can hit the bell button if you want to get notifications when we put up more content, and like and share our videos and bring other people along. Have a wonderful day and enjoy building your network by building really beautiful rapport. Thank you.